Welcome back to another episode of No Recipe Required. Today I am attempting something that I've only tried to make once before, and it didn't really turn out all that well. But I'm inspired by my friend Mike in Calgary, who made macarons, which are those little French cookies made from meringue, sandwiched in between some yummy filling. So I am attempting to make macarons today, so please bear with me. Anyway, let's talk about the ingredients that we have here. So I'm going to start by beating my egg whites, which I have here. And we need 100 grams of egg whites, which is about 3 large eggs. Now, when I measured mine out, it came out to 94 grams. And I'm like, I am not opening another egg just to get 6 or 7 more grams worth of egg white. So 93 or 94 grams of egg white are going to have to do. This is going into my stand mixer, and my stand mixer is fitted with if I can show it to you here, there's a copper insert. And this copper insert, copper is a fantastic vessel for whipping eggs, makes them nice and light. And the key thing with this, even if you don't have copper, even if you're just using the regular stainless steel, is you need to wipe it down and clean it very, very thoroughly before you use it. There cannot be a hint of oil or grease anywhere in here. Otherwise, your egg whites will not beat up. They won't inflate, okay? If there's any kind of oil or grease or anything. So that goes for the beater as well. So I'm just going to put that in there. Here are my egg whites, my 94 grams instead of 100 grams. They're going in there. The other thing that's going in here is 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. That's here. I mean, honestly, this is going to last you a million years because you only use so much of it. It helps to stabilize. It's an acid, and it helps to stabilize the egg white. So that's why we put it in. So I'm going to add that in there. The other thing I'm adding in is like literally 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm making very plain ones. I'm going to put a caramel filling in, and I'll show you. There's a separate video of how I made the caramel filling. But I'm not really fond of fake caramel flavor, so I'm just going to go with vanilla. Hopefully, I don't know, 1/2 teaspoon the recipe called for. Doesn't seem like a lot, but I will put it in anyway. So in that goes. Okay, so I'm going to lock this in. I'm going to get this started. It's very, very noisy. So I'm probably going to pause here and come back when the egg whites have beaten up and show you what they look like. So I've just turned this off for a moment because I want to show you what soft peaks look like. So these are soft peaks. You can kind of see if I take this out, they kind of stand up on their own like this. Okay, so we've got some soft peaks going on here. And now I'm going to start adding some sugar, because what I want to create are some glossy, stiff peaks. Now, it only calls for 80 grams of superfine sugar. I could not find superfine sugar, so I just use regular sugar, regular granulated sugar, but I put it in my food processor and just let it whiz around for a little bit, and that made the sugar a little bit more fine than regular granulated sugar. So I'm going to turn this on again. It's going to be a little bit noisy. You can't dump in all the sugar all at once. You have to kind of put it in a little bit at a time to allow for it to be absorbed into the egg whites. So I'm just kind of sprinkling it in here. Let's see if I can do it over here. I'm going to do it left-handed. There we go. I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to give it a little stir to make sure that any of the sugar that is maybe stuck to the sides of the bowl gets incorporated. So I'm just kind of smushing this around. That's the official term, smushing. Put this back on. Okay, and just let it go again. what I'm looking for, sort of stiff, glossy peaks. With the only 80 grams of sugar, the peaks are not going to get as shiny as it would be if you were making like a baked meringue, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Now, the other thing I'm going to add is some food coloring. Because it's going to be caramel, I wanted to have a little bit of a yellow color to it, so I have some gel food coloring here. So as opposed to the liquid kind, you only need a tiny little bit. So I'm using a little like chopstick. You can use any kind of stick. And I just like literally have like this much on the end. I'm just going to stick it in here, just kind of go like this. This color is called Buttercup Yellow. So it's a little bit of a golden yellow color, although it looks brown in the container. Like, look how dark this is. It looks brown. But I'm just going to now continue whipping this up, and it's going to have a little bit of a yellow, sort of a buttery yellow color to it to go along with the salted caramel that I'm going to put inside. Yummy. When it comes to food coloring, you're probably better to put a little bit less than too much. Otherwise, it could be a little bit overpowering. So I went quite pale with these, but that's okay. They'll actually be a little bit darker once they bake up. So I'm just trying to get all of the meringue off there. Okay, stick that back in here. All right, so all of this is out of the way. The other thing I have in my bowl here is almond flour. Okay, so just super fine as you can find almond flour. Again, this is one of those things you can put in the food processor and give it a whir around to help make it even finer. But what I did use is just a regular sieve like this, and I sifted the almond flour along with icing sugar or confectioner's sugar. So 125 grams each of icing sugar and the almond flour into a nice large bowl like I have here. So there's my bowl full of, so you can kind of see the consistency. It's very, very light and fluffy. Okay, now what I'm going to be doing is incorporating the egg whites into this, so in 3 additions. Now keep in mind, as we said, as soon as egg whites come in contact with any type of oil, they're going to start to deflate. And almond flour has oil in it naturally has oil in it. So we expect it to deflate a little bit, and we actually kind of want it to deflate a little bit. So, okay, so let's get back to our flour here. Okay, I'm just showing it for the other camera as well. Okay, there we've got our flour, and then we also have our meringue egg whites. Okay, they're very, very stiff and glossy. And I'm going to put these in 3 additions. So here goes the first addition. And I'm just folding all of this together with the flour. I should move this out of the way. Okay, I'm going to be honest. The original recipe said to put the egg whites in here. I think it would probably be easier to put the flour in with the egg whites, but I'm going to follow the recipe that I saw. And let's just add more. I wonder if maybe I over whip. You can't really over whip egg whites. But as I mix this all together, I'm sort of kind of see it's almost like just a paste. To heck with it. I'm putting the whole thing in. All the egg whites are going in. Okay. All right. It seems a little bit easier now to mix. Now, the other thing when you're mixing is that you actually have to mix to a certain point where I'm going to be able to pipe this. So this is my piping bag, which I've got in a glass to make it easier to fill. But it has to be literally the perfect consistency. And so I need to keep folding this together until it gets to the perfect consistency that it's going to be able to pipe. So basically I'm deflating these egg whites so that they'll be slightly runny. And it's one of those things that it just kind of takes a little bit of practice. And that's why I'm saying I'm I'm doing a big experiment here, because I don't know if I'm going to get them to the right consistency or not. Because a lot of people are afraid of over mixing them, because that's the thing. Once you over mix, you can't come back from that. But so under mixing is bad, over mixing is bad, but overmixing is worse because you can't bring it back from where you were. Okay. So let's just show this for this other camera so you can see. So I'm continuing to mix. I think there's a technical term for this in French. It's something like macaronnage, which is, I don't know, it's to make macarons. And the other thing it says is to drop, like to kind of drop it like this from, and it's not really falling down in ribbons the way I would want it to. So I'm going to keep mixing until it gets to that point. It's kind of interesting that you have to whip the egg whites to get them nice and firm, and then now you're just beating them all down again. But that's just the way the recipe goes. I'm going to start piping my macaron batter onto my tray. So hopefully this other camera is going to pick it up a little bit closer so that you can see, you can see it's already dripping out here. So I'm kind of going down like this, creating a little blob, and then I'm just going to do a little thing like this. And here we go. Little blob, and then just around like that. So if there's like maybe a little bit of, air. There we go. Kind of finish with a little bit of a flourish like that. There. Okay, I don't want like an actual peak, so I'm going to come back and flatten those out. Okay, what do I do with this on my finger? I eat it. Let's go back here. Okay, so squeeze, 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 squeeze. Squeeze, 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 and then a little flourish, squeeze, 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 squeeze. I leave these to kind of set up a little bit. Oh, this is going to be the last one. That's all I have left in here. Okay, there we go. All right, so I didn't even get a full tray. You can see here, I only got about 3/4 of a tray. And I'm just going to kind of clean up these edges. The other thing I can do is I can wet my fingers, and I want to do a few things. Do this because I want to try and get rid of any air bubbles that might be there. I can also put a little bit of water on my fingers and just kind of flatten out those little nubs on top. Okay. And now I have to let these sit for at least 30 to 60 minutes. What I want to have happen is I want it to kind of make like a dry crust on top of the macaron before I bake them. So in the meantime, I'm going to start up my oven to 325. I'm going to clean things up a little bit and put them in, and then I'll show you what they look like when they come out. Fingers crossed. Okay, so as you can see here, I managed to get 36 Some are a little bit bigger, some are a little bit smaller. And you can see how some of them are really very dull looking, kind of like these ones down here. They're sort of dull and they're very, very dry on top, which is what we want. Some of them, the ones that I kind of touched with a little bit of water, they're not quite so dry yet. So I want to wait until the tops are fully dry before they go in the oven. Okay, here we go. I'm going to check how these are doing. Oh, they've risen up nice. Just going to touch them. I think I might give these another couple of minutes, 2 minutes. Okay, I had checked them after 13 minutes and then put them in for another 2 minutes. And now they're coming out the oven. They're actually maybe a little bit dark. At least the ones at the back are. But as you can see, they've got these little, what we call feet. See here at the bottom? Oops, don't wanna, like right around here. Those are called feet. And that is what we are looking for. So these would be examples of like the perfect macaron. Okay, so some of these turned out really, really well. Some of them turned out maybe not as good, but we'll see. I gotta let them cool for a bit, and then we'll come back. Okay, we're back. So I have a few of the macarons here. I'm not going to do all of them, but just want to give you an idea of how you go about filling them. So the first thing I did is I actually tried to match up macarons that were basically the same shape and size, because you're going to be putting them together like a sandwich cookie. And so if you have one that's really big and one that's really small, they're not going to match up properly. So that's what I did first, is I matched them up. And then making sure that they're fully cool before you start piping. So one thing I'll say about these particular macarons is that they're maybe a little bit rougher than you would normally see in a macaron. I think maybe my almond flour was not quite as fine as it could have been, which is leaving it a little bit sort of rough and bumpy on the top. You really want it to be actually very smooth, and these are not. So, I mean, they're still going to taste great. They just don't look as nice. So I had the video earlier about making the caramel. So here it is. I've put it in a piping bag with a fairly narrow tip. Just gonna go like this. It's sort of oozing out. And I'm just going to, you want your filling to be fairly thick, because what you don't want is for it to ooze out the side. So I'm just kind of going like that. Oops. Putting the other one on top. Give it a little squeeze. And there we go. There's macaron number one. We'll do the next one. Maybe I'll start around the perimeter. And then fill in the center, like that. Doesn't really matter how it looks on the inside, because you're putting another one on top. And there we go, there's our macaron, nice and filled. Okay, and there you go, that's how you make macaron. My caramel is coming out the top here. Let's try again. Around the perimeter, and then fill in the center, and then match it up. And there is a perfect salted caramel macaron. Enjoy, and good luck making your own.